So let's take a quick look at the agenda. So we'll start off with just some review of some usability features, some new features to improve how easy it is to use Testlab Neo. They will hopefully make your experience easier when you're using Testlab Neo. That'll be our first point of focus. And then a nice feature, something really cool, this Testlab workflow automation, TWA. Touch on that and we'll watch a video of a demo of it. I think you will find it pretty cool. So right off the bat, if you've ever used Testlab Neo desktop or any of the versions before 2406, when you opened it up on the left-hand side here, we changed the layout. It was a little confusing as to whether you were opening a template or opening a project. So now it's combined. You can open an existing project at the bottom. You can open a new project using the template across the top. And you'll even see that across the top, we have these blank templates, one for NVH, one for durability. And we actually have some that have data inside of them. This is all about improving the welcome screen to make it easier for you to get to your project or go to a blank template. Just a quick preview. Inside of it, you'll find sample demo data. There's going to be processes. There are matching reports. They use queries. There's explanations about how things work. And this is all with the goal of supporting new users to figure out the basics of using Testlab Neo. So these tutorial templates are going to be really cool, I think, to kind of get you started, make you productive very quickly. Also, I don't know if you've ever used the Getting Started pane when you open Testlab Neo. If you look here at the bottom, unless you turn this off, it'll always show up at startup. But there is new information that's been put into the Getting Started to help you with loading add-ins, understanding the interface, how project sections and runs are related, working with the displays and the pivot table. So this is a good introduction to the software, a lot of how-tos. And even if you know what you're doing, there's the tips and tricks section. And I was just reading this recently, and I found the trick that I didn't know. So if you did have Neo already open, you go down to the bottom here, and you went to the help, the Getting Started, you can see I have it checked off, so it won't pop up every time I open up. So I think once you do it one time and review it, you could probably turn that off so you don't have to deal with that anymore. But going down to the tips and tricks, one that I appreciated was this pane layout editing. I did know about the fixed pane layout. If you turn that off, it allows you to maximize and minimize different screens quickly. The one related to being able to basically reduce the compact view of the different tabs is also pretty cool. This is just another tool to help you get more familiar with the program. So I invite you to check it out. Also, while we're here, there's this what's new right underneath it. I don't know if you've ever used that. And it gets updated, obviously, every release. But you can see what's new in 2406. And as you can probably see from the pane here, there's quite a lot of features. This is the very first one. Is just kind of an overview. We can now do sound power, Testlab Neo Process Designer, this Testlab Workflow Automation, which we'll talk about. There's missing synthesis. It was always available in Classic, but now you can actually do it in Testlab Neo Process Designer. So this is a good overview, but if there's a particular section that you might be interested in, like model correlation, you can go there, get an overview of some of the features that have updated in this version. Another thing, so in Testlab 2306, it was maybe a little confusing when you were connecting to your hardware, right? You're starting some type of acquisition test, time data acquisition, for example. It was a little confusing to some people because if you were using an RS versus one of SCADA's mobile products, you had to type in an IP address, and whether you were working online or offline wasn't very clear. So what they did was basically rework this whole hardware selection. So when you are clearly know that you're connecting to the front end or you're working offline, it's very obvious. You no longer have to type in an IP address for the SCADA's RS users. It's going to find it. You just select which hardware you want to connect to, hit OK, or if you're using some type of front-end configuration file. I think it's a simple thing, but definitely needed improvement to kind of simplify that interface. The channel setup, let's say you were in time data acquisition. It was not necessarily a big point of contention for you, but maybe it was. It depends on how familiar you are with all these columns. In 2306, if you look at the column headers, you can see how it was cut off. It's HP, probably, that's high pass filter cutoff. But in 2406, they made a point to make sure that these were easily readable. Also, the font color differentiation between what's editable and non-editable. So it's grayed out here. This is a non-editable field, the connection. clearly you can see that our goal is to try to make your experience easier. And with that in mind, there's this instrumentation setup tab that optimizes, I guess, how quickly you can set up a particular instrument or microphone, an Excel, a strain gauge. You kind of get a live preview of the data. So you have instantaneous feedback, whether or not you're connected. You can see you get some nice wiring diagrams. If you're working with strain gauge, that can be very helpful. If you are on the channel setup, and I just have my Scottish Mobile little one slot connected, I'm just got on one channel, have a microphone on it. But you go down to the end of the channel right here, and you go setup, just click that. And if I go arm, I'm getting a live preview. I pick up the microphone a little bit and whistle. You can see the spectrum here at the bottom. I can change quickly the measurement quantity. It's not an accelerometer. So I want to change that to pressure. It's a microphone. I can do that live, change the sample rates. So it's pretty handy. If I had more channels, I could just scroll here, quickly set them up. If these were strain gauges, I could turn on shunts to confirm that they're working properly, wired properly, change the sensitivity. We used to have a small, I don't know if you recall, the signal level was an indication of whether or not you had a working channel. Like you could see a green or red as you, if there's accelerometer, maybe tapped on your device under test, whatever, just to see it's measuring something. But this is a big step forward to make it easier for you setting up your channels. So let me just move this off the screen again. So calibration. So that AC calibration task at the bottom, as you're walking along your setup here, Testlab Neo, it's been enhanced. You get more visual feedback. Also, if you've ever done any of our impact testing with our impact testing module, and you like the audio feedbacks there that you get as you're moving along, you'll probably be very pleased. We also have audio feedbacks now here when you're doing your calibrations. Just something that could be handy if you're working by yourself. There's been some updates to how we handle CAN in the sense of making it easier, hopefully, for you to see which channels are being decoded and which ones are not being decoded online. In Testlab 2306, you had to go to 2 different locations, basically, turn on the CAN channels, and then you had to go back into instrumentation to decide to select which ones you want to decode. The whole process has been simplified, thankfully. You can clearly see which channels I'm decoding, which ones are on. It's no longer a 2-step process. So if you use a lot of CAN measurements, I think you'll find this pretty handy. A little cumbersome to go to 2 locations for the same thing. So I think this was a small thing, but a major improvement. And then just overall, this one's more like a visual thing, right? They said making it lighter on the eyes. In the sense, we are now by default hiding a lot of panels that you don't immediately need for a lot of tasks. And if you look here, the scroll bars are thinner. That's a small thing, but it's all with the idea of giving you more screen space. When you've worked with Testlab Neo, it's a lot of functionality available to you. And if you don't have multiple monitors, maybe you struggle with getting everything that you want on the screen. So for example, this properties pane, instead of it being open by default, it's still here. You can quickly get to it by just clicking here and it would open back up. But the idea is when it opens up, we're going to have more screen real estate for you to work, and properties and settings that you don't immediately need are going to be minimized. So I'm making use of some of these Neo features to save screen real estate in the meantime. Kind of in the same vein, less is more. You can see here, this measurement pane here, we're using timed acquisition. You can toggle on and off these different parameters if you don't need to see the control parameters, the monitoring of the properties, to give you more space to visually see the data that you're collecting. One thing you might notice here too, if you're looking closely, with the monitoring, now we actually have color maps, border sections. That's something new for 2406. In the future, how to make use of that when you're doing time data acquisition, no longer just spectrums and time data. Kind of the same thing here with regard to getting more space and visibility. Same things that are going on, reducing the size of the scroll bars, hiding properties that you don't need by default, right? This property is here, it's minimized here by default. So whenever you click on something, it'll immediately take up as much of the display screen as you can. Another thing, the guide me, you probably are familiar with these guide me's in Testlab Neo. If you're trying to figure out how to do something, I can see it's working here with the geometry. Like, how do I reduce the number of nodes in this STL file that I've brought in? That has been improved. Instead of just guides, we have these walkthroughs, how to build a process or load an existing one, assign a virtual sensor to a channel, CAN setup. That's always a good one. Lots of questions on CAN setups these days. You'll find it when it's available for that particular tab. You'll find it at the bottom right-hand corner, the walkthrough. You see this pretty in-depth, even the CAN one, it's 13 steps. So I'll try to give you a lot of detail as we're walking you through it to make the task easier for you. This one is just kind of a usability thing for sure. So in 2306, as you can see, when I click on process, I still need to go to the top and click on the process in the ribbon. So I'll click on the process tab at the bottom, but I still need to go to the top and click on the process ribbon to see those areas where I can start building my process. In 2406, basically, if you go to the processing tab, we're immediately at the top. Also click on the processing ribbon because it only makes sense to do that. And it's just, like I said, it's one of those usability things. It's not very obvious, but it'll just be a smoother experience, right? You'll be happier as you're making your process design. So that's a small thing, but just more of a usability made sense. This one actually got asked for quite a bit, and I think it's big. So there's double clicking or right clicking to get to properties. And I guess I could show you that too inside Testlab just to make it a little clearer. So if I go to processing, see that just immediately went to process for me. In the past, what you had to do was click on the method. We call these methods, if you're not familiar with Testlab Neo, right? I have a lot of different methods I can use to perform different functions. I would have to click on the method, and then I could see the properties related to it. And if I wanted to change something in the formula set, for example, for this calculate method. With the idea of being able to have more screen space, and so I don't want to use that, I want to minimize it, and I still want to be able to quickly get to my properties so I can change the settings. You can just double click it now, but it didn't always do that. You had to click on it and go to the properties tab to start changing things. So now you can double click, or you can even right click if you're a right clicker and just go to properties. This is more like a stylish thing, so that you can choose the connection style of your curves. Maybe you include this in your project, your reports, your process that you use to design for your data acquisition. So maybe you wouldn't mind it having a little bit of flash. We added some different connector types. And honestly too, sometimes it could just be for making it neater. These things can get really busy if you have a complex process. You have a couple of different styles. You have the typical elbow, straight, and the curve. You can make these process designs a little bit fancier, make a report a little visually appealing. This is really good, actually. I always like helpful help, as I say. When you go to help, you want it to be helpful, meaning clear to understand what you want to do. So this was about improving guidance during your process creation. So you might get this error. Let's say you put some time history data into your input basket. You say, oh, okay, I want to get some frequency sections. You try to connect it, then it tells you, hey, you have these incompatible data types. Data is time, method expects, octave map, loudness map, prominence ratio map, modulation map, track, tone to noise ratio map, modulation, stationary tonality map, roughness map. Hopefully it's very clear what you're supposed to do right now. Maybe not, right? So because data needs to be connected to compatible process methods. What we tried to do now in 2406 is make it clear to you what you need to do in order to get your frequency section. So now, instead of just saying incompatible data types and rambling off this long list of things that you could do, gives you a helpful picture saying start with the spectrum map and then connect it to the frequency section. You can make this connection. So our time history data can go into spectrum map method, which can be connected to frequency sections. So just this little added picture here helps you get the idea. I have to have a map first before I can take sections of it. I think that was a good change. I always like my help to be helpful. Speaking of which, so the calculate method, in the past, it wasn't very clearly shown a list of all the available calculations that you could do in that method. So we've built in some guidance to help make those formulas easier to select, give you a description of what they do, and you get real-time feedback on this. So I'm using my double click, right, to get inside of there. Formula set. Now, in the past, what I would do if I wanted to say, oh, what formulas are available to me, you could just type anything in the formula, and then it would give you a list of what. It's basically saying this EEE is not a formula, but you could use any of these. And true enough, that's a list, but it's not a super detailed as to how to use it, what the function does in description. So now we have, I don't know if I showed you how I got there. It's just this little f of x here, right? Edit formula. Wow, clicked on the box. And then as you go down, you can see you have a full list of the formulas that are available to you, a description, far more helpful. They're even categorized, logical, math, constants. Just go to all and search through the whole list. I think that was a big needed improvement. If you're coming from Classic and use the time signal data calculator, you're kind of used to having some type of formula edit box that explains all the formulas and how to use them. Oh yeah, this is really good too. Customers asked for this and I totally agree with this. I was happy that they got it into 2406. Basically, and I'll show you quickly too in the software, I guess. We made it easier to search for these methods. Like I said, right, you have a long list of methods that you can use to process your data. But previously, it was a little strict on the name you had to type in to get the signal, the method that you wanted. For overall level, for example, a lot of times people say OAL, right? But that wouldn't find you the overall level calculation method, unfortunately, even though it's kind of a common nomenclature description to use for it. So I could type overall level. It's grayed out because I don't have this signature analysis add-in turned on. I would have to type in basically overall level to get to that method. But now I can just type OAL and it still takes me there. And that's similar for other common nomenclature, nicknames, I should say, for methods. So this is about cleaner display, better looking graphs to communicate information to the end user, whoever you're sharing your report with, or maybe just for you. So it's just about the legends, positioning the legend and the title legend. You can manually reposition these. They can automatically also, which is cool, when you add the title legend, it automatically opens the title editing box. Let's see if you can see where it's set in the animation. Next, I think it'll add the title legend. And immediately it opens to the title text, because I mean, you're adding it, you need to give it a name, so it just makes sense. So it's one of those small usability things. So reporting in Neo, this is really cool. We already had curved scrolling, but now you print with the scrolling to make these really cool reports, multi-page reports very easily. If you want to make reports quick and easy. Now, some fun stuff. TWA, sounds like an airline from the past, but stands for Testlab Workflow Automation. What are we talking about here? So what is TWA doing? Well, we're taking data and we're processing it remotely, and it could be in the example that I'm going to use in the video. Imagine you're out testing the vehicle on the track and you have Wi-Fi support, or maybe you're using one of our Valence cellular modules with your Scatus RX, so you can be anywhere that you have a cellular signal. I can remotely have that data uploaded to a server. It would process it using one of our Neo design process designs, and then basically store it in another location. That could be locally, it could be on an ASM ODS server. It could even just be a local department network drive that you're storing your data in, or it could be from a Scatus RS out in the field. It could be from Simcenter shared drive, network drives. We're going to take that data, we're going to process it remotely, and then it can be downloaded from that server. It could be sent to some ASM ODS annotated database, or it could just be shared to another network drive. It's basically looking in a folder, it's waiting for some time history to show up. Once it does, it sees that data show up, it grabs it, starts running the process that you've selected for it, maybe to calculate spectrum averages or order sections, and then it'll save it to a network drive or some other server that you could pull a report from. This is the interface that you would see for the Simcenter Testlab Workflow Automation. And if you look at the cross, these are recent runs. These are jobs that it's listening for, to how to process certain data once it arrives.
This demo booth showcases Simcenter Testlab Workflow Automation. It's the Simcenter with Siemens 2406 new product release, and actually it connects to the booth with Simcenter Scatus RS. We're doing a remote connectivity, so you can see that on the left-hand side of my screen, I can show the complete Scatus RS recorder application in real time. There's signals coming in, there's the video stream, there's the displacement sensor. And the whole idea is that we have a remote connectivity to the hardware. and we offload the data from the hardware, and we do automatic processing using Testlab running in the back. Why do we do this? What is it important for our customers? It's because we want to make sure that the vehicles can go on the road, do their acquisition, and you don't have to put any PC in the car. We collect the data while the vehicle is still on the road. We do the processing, and the test engineer that stays in the office can have a look at the results, see if there's any issues, still have a contact or a touch with the driver to indicate that there's more tests needed. So this is really about centralized processing application which offloads data either from a connected SCADA RS or from shared network drives within the organization. So how does the demo look like? We have the SCADA RS, as I already explained. On the right-hand side, we have Testlab workflow automation. This one is currently running on my local PC. Ideally, at the customer location, this is a server environment. I'm going to trigger a measurement, and normally I would ask my colleague to shake the system such that we see some discrepancy in the signal, but he is doing a demo right now, so I'm not going to disturb him. With a few seconds of measurement, I'm going to stop the measurement, and immediately on the right-hand side, you're going to see that a new line is going to appear on the screen, and exactly this indicates that we have offloaded the measurement. We do the automatic processing, and we're going to see the reports and visualize them in a local running Testlab version in a couple of seconds. The processing is ongoing. You can see the status is light green. In the moment, it's going to turn dark green, and that allows us to visualize the process result inside of Testlab. It's done. The results are available. So the last thing I do in my demonstration is switch to a Testlab application. I explain what kind of processing we do. This is a traditional low data analysis application. And then I have my report already prepared. You're going to find it in the materials that we share with this demonstration. And I'm just going to load the queries and indicate that the project should look at the calculation that we have just performed. So I'm going to do it right now. Measurement 101. Okay. The queries fill in automatically, and immediately we can show the system was remote, we offloaded the data, we processed the data, and we show the results in a Testlab environment. And that's the TWA booth. Thanks a lot.